Yeah, we're good. Oh, hi, Facebook live stream viewers. Glad to have you with me today. We're going to be talking about free to do what matters to you. I'm excited about that topic. We're going to be discussing it in several ways today. One will be with our financial advisor, Cheri Blair, who is doing some exciting things with helping women invest in companies that are helping the planet. Isn't that cool? And then we're going to be talking about some other things, including my new book, Change It Up. That's the radio show. The book, Saying the Right Thing When You Don't Know What to Say. So if you're ready, I think we're ready, and we'll get this show on the road.
Tired of the rut you're stuck in, but don't know what to do? Change it up. Join life transitions therapist, speaker, and best-selling author Paula. She'll be exploring topics that make change and the challenge it presents smoother and more productive. She'll also be spotlighting change makers who are leading the charge to make the world a better place. If you're ready to live a more exciting life, at home, in the workplace, and around the world, it's time to step out of your comfort zone and change it up. Now, here's your host, Paula.
You want to make God laugh? Tell them your plans. It's the same way doing a radio show. I'm ready whenever you are, Todd. I think we have technical difficulties going on.
Your headphone volume must be down.
Oh.
I just played the whole intro.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing anything.
Your
Oh.
headphone volume was
Oh, dear. So where are we? Are we starting over? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, it was down. So my headphone volume was down. Things were actually happening, and I didn't know. Now we're going to try this again.
Tired of the rut you're stuck in, but don't know what to do? Change it up. Join life transitions therapist, speaker, and best-selling author Paula. She'll be exploring topics that make change and the challenge it presents smoother and more productive. She'll also be spotlighting change makers who are leading the charge to make the world a better place. If you're ready to live a more exciting life, at home, in the workplace, and around the world, it's time to step out of your comfort zone and change it up. Now, here's your host, Paula.
Welcome to Change It Up Radio with Paula Shaw. I'm so glad to have you with me today. We are going to be talking today about being free to do what matters to you. We're going to be looking at that from several different perspectives. We're going to be looking at it from the perspective of this show, Change It Up Radio, which is all about helping people get comfortable with change. We like to bring people stories and information to help them deal with change, because change and upheaval is just one of the constants in life. And the other thing we really like to do on this show is spotlight change makers who are doing a lot to make the world a better place. We'll also be talking today with Cheri Blair, our financial consultant. And we're going to be talking about some of the ways that she is working with women to help them invest in companies that are keeping the earth safe, companies that are doing their part for the environment. So you'll definitely want to stay around for that. We'll be with Cheri a little later in the show, because you're probably going to want to find out, what are those companies and how can I do that as well? So I'm excited to have you here with us today. As most of you know, I am a speaker, a life transitions therapist, and an author, as well as the host of this show. I've written 3 books. The first one was called Chakras, the Magnificent 7, which is all about working with those energy centers in the body that many people call chakras. The second book was this one, Grief, When Will This Pain Ever End? which is really kind of a compendium of lots of different processes, articles, and different tools that you can use to actually help move yourself through your grief so that you don't get stuck in it or become a monument to despair. Because when people are grieving, it's a tough time. And because grief is a normal, natural human experience, we sort of think we should know what to do when we're in that situation. But most of us don't. Most of us really don't know what to do until we get there, and then we don't know what to do. So what I tried to do in that book is bring some exercises and processes to the reader that I know work. Because in 27 years of dealing with people who are working their way through loss, I've gained a lot of tools and a lot of experience with what helps and what doesn't. And actually, it was that very theme, what helps and what doesn't, that inspired me to write my latest book, Saying the Right Thing When You Don't Know What to Say. Because in my 27 years of practicing, I have had more people show up who have told me, nobody called, nobody came by to see me, nobody brought it up at the office after they'd gone through some terrible loss or upheaval in their lives. And my heart breaks for the person who's left all alone, who feels isolated and incapable of knowing what to do, how to help themselves. My heart also goes out to the person that wants to help, but doesn't really know what to say or do, and who's terrified that if they say or do the wrong thing, they'll actually make the situation worse. So it is for you, and that's pretty much most of us out there who have ever been in that situation, that I wrote this book. And in the book, we cover a lot of different things. We look at why aren't we better at having those difficult conversations? Why is it so easy for us to talk sports or to talk about the latest fashion or even to gossip? But it's not easy for us to say to somebody, I know you're hurting. I'm so sorry. Or my heart is breaking for you. Oh, this must be so tough. Those are the kinds of things that we can say that really connect us as human beings. And those sorts of statements can be really helpful to people who are in pain or even just going through something really upheaving and difficult. You know, it doesn't always have to be a death or a divorce or a loss of health. Sometimes a change in a job or certainly a change in a relationship can cause upheaval in a person's life, and they need to be supported when they're going through that kind of change. We are herding mammals. Humans are herding mammals. So we need the herd. We need the comfort of the herd when we're hurting. And too often, the herd kind of drifts away because they're afraid that they'll say or do the wrong thing. So that's why I'm out there these days. I'm doing trainings, corporate trainings. I'm doing presentations. I am talking to lots of different groups of people about this topic. Learning how to say the right thing when you don't know what to say. Learning what are the important steps that you need in a conversation that's going to be supportive and successful. So let's take a quick look at those steps. First of all, there are 5 steps. And if you can just follow these 5 steps, you will be a much more effective communicator, whether you're talking to a group of people or you're talking to a single person. So step 1, and we do this every week, really, on Change It Up Radio, set an intention. Setting an intention is a way of letting the energy, and everything's energy, right? It's a way of letting random energy know how you'd like it to show up ideally. So, for example, if I need to have a difficult conversation with Todd, my sound engineer, I might set an intention before I go into that conversation, that I set my intention let's say it this way. My intention is that in my conversation with Todd, I'll be supportive. I'll be able to listen and really hear his perspective. Words will flow easily for me, and I will stay connected at my heart and not let my head get in the way. So that's an example of an intention you might set before going into a difficult conversation. If it's somebody you're angry with, you might want to set an intention saying, my intention is that I will stay cool and calm and able to listen at all times during this conversation, and it will flow easily and be productive and healing. So, throw in there what you ideally would like the outcome to be. That's step one. Step two is be present. Trust me, if you're sitting and talking with somebody and you're thinking about your plans tonight or the grocery list or anything other than what is in front of you, they will sense it. They will sense it, and then they will shut down. There won't be the same kind of open exchange. So be present, body and mind in the same place. Step three, have the mindset of being comforting, supportive, being there. Don't go into that conversation thinking you know all the answers and you have got to teach them the right way to be thinking. Because then the dynamic becomes more like this. And if the dynamic isn't equal, if it's unequal, then the person again will not feel safe to really speak openly. Number four, step four is probably the most important step in any conversation. And that is simply listen. Listen, not thinking about how you're going to respond, because then you're not totally focused. Just listen from the perspective of really wanting to hear what this person is saying, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And finally, step five, when it's your appropriate time to respond briefly, because remember, the whole idea is you want the other person to talk, to be able to process through what's going on with them. So you want to respond briefly and respond from the heart, not the head. This is not a time for facts and figures. It won't be helpful to say, I know that this breakup in the relationship really hurts you now, but there'll be somebody else that will come along one day that will be even better. Yes, intellectually we know that could be possible and it may very well be true. But in the moment this person is hurting and feeling like it's the end of the world and they will never find anybody as wonderful as the person they've just lost, it isn't helpful to give them intellectual information. Oh, statistics show that after a breakup, within 6 weeks to 3 months, someone better will come along. You see, that connection doesn't really work because it's the heart that's broken, not the head. So when we're dealing with somebody that has a broken heart, we need to approach them from our hearts. And in that way, present, have a mindset of being supportive and comforting, listen, and respond briefly from the heart, not the head. All right, after this message, we will be answering some emails from our listeners. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with more Change It Up with Paula Shaw on AM 1170, The Answer.
Now, more than ever, it's important for women to understand why they need a financial strategy. Women tend to make less money than men, live longer, and face more financial challenges during retirement. Hi, I'm Cheri Blair. With evolving roles and increasing responsibilities, women are seeking out ways to become more knowledgeable about their finances. My life's work has been to empower women to make good financial decisions today to help ensure you have a bright future tomorrow. I'm here to help you learn more and to become more. Give me a call for your free no-obligation consultation or a second opinion at 619-997-0416. 619-997-0416. That's 619-997-0416.
Cheri Blair is registered with and securities are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company. California license number 0B42369.
Hi, I'm Kelly Klein of OneTrust Home Loans, Loan Coach Kelly. A while back, my business was in a slump, and it triggered a lot of self-doubt and fear, and it even had me questioning if I'd made the right career choice. So I booked a session with Paula Shaw. And after hearing my predicament, she explained that when we get into negative, self-sabotaging thinking and we're being run over by our limiting beliefs, it's almost impossible to create positive outcomes. She helped me clear those destructive thoughts and beliefs using her cutting-edge energy psychology techniques. Not only did I feel a whole lot better after the session, but within 2 weeks, I had 7 loans in my pipeline. I was so glad that I went to see Paula Shaw. And you should too. It really changed my perspective on life, business, and now my business is going great. You can reach her at 626-864-0756. That's 626-864-0756. 626-864-0756. Or check her out at paulashaw.com. That's paulashaw.com.
Welcome back to Change It Up. Now here's your host, Paula Shaw.
Welcome back to Change It Up Radio with Paula Shaw. We are going to be answering some emails in this segment, and so I will call on the help of my sound engineer, Todd. Todd, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, very good. Do we have some emails?
Yes, we have a couple emails. The first one reads, Dear Paula, we are having a difficult situation in our family. My sister seems to have some neurological issues going on. She doesn't seem to be thinking clearly and has had some problems while driving. We are afraid that she might be a danger to herself or others. My parents don't want to upset her by taking away her car keys or getting her in-home help. What do we do? Patricia.
Oh, Patricia, that is a difficult situation. And over the years, I've had to deal with a lot of families who were in situations like this. Sometimes it's mom and dad, who are older and suddenly reach a point where they're not as able to function well on their own. But it certainly can be someone of any age. And I think the first thing we have to remember, especially if there are neurological issues that we might be looking at, this person is not coming from their normal sound thinking. And when something like that is the case, then we need to step in a different way. We need to step in more of almost a parental way, because this person needs care. And this happens a lot of times when people are dealing with dementia or Alzheimer's. They want to make their own decisions because they're used to being independent, but they're not capable of making those decisions in as wise a way as we would hope. And especially if there are issues with driving or anything that could endanger the person we love or someone else out there who they might get in an accident with. We have to step in a bolder way. I always suggest that in our actions and in our own mindset, we come from wanting the person we love to have dignity. We don't want to make them feel inept or defective or, anything like that would give them any feelings of that they don't matter or hopelessness or any of those kinds of things that could come up for them. But we also have to come from the higher perspective of what's good, what would be helpful, and what wouldn't be helpful. And so again, sometimes it's going to require that we take a stronger position, that we are a little more authoritative, because, we wouldn't ask a 4-year-old child to make a decision about whether or not they should go to school or whether or not they should go to bed at an appropriate time, right? We step in and we make those decisions for them because they're not capable of really seeing the big picture and really being able to choose wisely from a broader perspective. Sometimes it's just like that when we're dealing with family members or even people at the office who might be ill or who might be in some way incapacitated from being able to make choices that are wise and sound and good for them. I mean, it's why sometimes it's really important with our aging parents to have someone come in once a day or once a week or something to be sure they take their meds correctly. Because I know I had clients who recently, they were both elderly and one was taking meds, the other one was not, but the other one was still a little bit confused about the meds. So you can't ask one person to oversee what the other person is doing when both of them are on some level not quite as sharp as they used to be. So I think it's important that we all own that there are times in life when we just need help. And we have to be open to that help. And we have to realize that sometimes we just need to do what's best, either for someone else or for ourselves, even if it isn't what we ideally want, even if it's not what we would ideally seek out. Life is full of experiences that come along, as I often refer to them, unwelcome change. And we just have to do our best to do what we can do. So, Patricia, I urge you and your family to be kind, be loving, leave your sister dignity, but come from an authoritative position, a loving, authoritative position, and help make the decisions about what needs to happen. I hope that helps.
All right, Paula, our next email reads here, my college-age son is attracted to girls that clearly seem wrong for him. He's intelligent and sweet and has integrity and seems to be attracted to party girls who are shallow and self-centered. I don't want to see him taken advantage of, but he doesn't seem to want to hear my advice. I'm in a slippery slope. I want to give him the advantage of and protection of my experience, and yet I don't want to turn him away from me. How do I navigate this tricky terrain? Susanna.
Oh, Susanna. Oh, no pun intended. Susanna, I have walked this slippery slope myself. And it's actually one of my favorite stories to tell because, first of all, anyone who has ever parented a teenager knows that no matter how great your advice might be, no matter what your experiential base is, they do not want to hear it from you. And I went through this exact same thing with my daughter when she was, oh my goodness, probably 17. It was 17 or 18. I don't think she was quite 18. But she thought that she was totally in love with a guy who, was a perfectly nice guy. But, young girls at that age sometimes think that the person they're in love with is the only person they are ever going to love in their whole lives, and that they need to seal the deal now, maybe we get married next year, or we start living together, or whatever the case might be. And I have to admit, I made my attempts at trying to give her some wise advice. And yes, I was shut down just as quickly as all the rest of you have been. Because I didn't know anything then. Only recently, my daughter's 34 now, only recently do I start to actually know something. And she even calls and asks for my advice sometimes. So there is a day coming when you will have that experience. And then you feel like I have not lived my life in vain. But during the teenage years, it's highly unlikely. Even the early 20s. Your son thinks that he knows exactly what he's doing and why he's attracted to who. So whatever your experience has been, he's going to think it doesn't relate to his experience. So you're wise not to try to pursue that course. Here's what I did, and maybe a variation of this would work for you. I decided that rather than putting my daughter in an adversarial position by telling her I didn't think this guy was the right guy for her, I decided maybe I would give her an experience of how big life actually was and how big it could be to make her more desirous of going to college and expanding her horizons and reaching for more. So I took her to New York City because my daughter is a singer, and now I'm happy to say she has a degree in vocal performance from Chapman Music Conservatory. So you see, it can work. She did go on, she did study. I took her to New York, and we went to a fun restaurant. I think it was called Joe Ellen's. Anyway, it was one of those places where the waiters were all males and they were a little bit insulting and kind of fun. And then we went and saw Rent in live theater. And that was when Rent was everything. And we did some other things in New York. It was a really fun, exciting trip. And on our way home on the airplane, she said to me, "Mom, I'm thinking I'm going to break up with," I'm going to call him Jim. And I said, "Oh, really? Why?" And she said, "Well, I want to be a singer. I want to sing on Broadway. There's so many things I want to do in my life." And of course, I looked at her and said, "Oh, of course, honey, whatever you want, I'll support you." And inside I was going, yes, yes, yes. For once, I made a decision and took some action that worked in the direction I hoped it would work. Because, of course, it was for my daughter's good. But when they're teenagers, it doesn't matter if what you're doing is for their good, because they see things their way, and they really do pretty much feel like they know everything. And they especially know everything that has to do with them. And again, as I said in the earlier email, I do think it's important to respond with respect, honoring who the person is. So, that "I'm your mother and I know better than you," that does not work. And so I think what you want to do is always come into the conversation with love and respect. And if you have love and respect truly in your heart, as you're saying whatever it is you say, chances are way, way better, almost for sure, that things are going to go in a good direction. So remember, where we come from directs where we go. Come from the right place, and things will go so much better. So I hope that helps, Susanna. And trust me, my heart is with you. I've been there. All right, we will be back in just a moment with Cheri Blair, and we're going to be talking about some exciting investments that help save the world and make you money.
More Change It Up with Paula Shaw on AM 1170, The Answer.
Sometimes life throws you a curve. It can be a health scare, divorce, loss of a job, or death of a loved one. And big changes can make you feel stressed out and anxious, depressed, or unable to sleep. Nothing feels comfortable or safe, and that's a tough place to be. Wouldn't it be nice to have someone to talk it over with? Someone who understands why you feel the way you do and knows how to help. Paula Shaw is a life transitions counselor, an expert therapist that can help you deal with unwanted destabilizing change or disruption in your life. Using a variety of mind-body techniques and psychology processes, she helps identify the key issues, eliminating self-sabotage and doubt to get you rapid results. Paula Shaw Counseling is open to all people, all ages, and all walks of life. Big life changes can be tough. Paula Shaw can help you get through it. Call 858-480-9234. That's 858-480-9234. 858-480-9234.
My business has lost its upward momentum. I'm working up to 14 hours a day, but my sales seem to have plateaued. I'm so overwhelmed.
I used to have that same problem, but ever since I found the Balanced Millionaire Consulting Firm, our sales and profits have risen sharply. Even our staff is more engaged, and the atmosphere is full of energy.
I have no time to work on my business to develop new sales and marketing strategies. I would love to expand, have strategic partnerships, and access to financing.
You can do all of that and more. The Balanced Millionaire Consulting Team advises you on streamlining your operations, establishing alliances, and most importantly, increasing your revenues and profits.
Let us help you build value and reduce stress in your business. Take charge. Don't let your business control your life. Visit thebalancedmillionaire.com or call 442-224-0160 for a free consultation. That's 442-224-0160 or thebalancedmillionaire.com.
Welcome back to Change It Up. Now here's your host, Paula Shaw.
Welcome back to Change It Up Radio with Paula Shaw. And as promised, slide that chair over here. Cheri Blair, our financial advisor, the financial advisor who empowers women to grow beautiful financial futures, is here in studio with me. So I know many of you who follow us are very familiar with Cheri, but for those of you who may not be, let me just say that this woman really knows her stuff. She has been a financial advisor for over 27 years. She is particularly passionate about helping women to make sound financial investments because she grew up in a family where old school. The men ran the whole financial situation, right? And then she ended up actually on her own with a child having to try to figure it out. And she realized that she's not the only woman in that kind of situation. So she pledged herself to educating women and helping them to handle their money wisely so that they could create beautiful financial futures. Right,
That's
Cheri?
right, Paula. That's right.
And that is
right.
exactly why I'm so delighted that she's part of this show, because we really like people who like women. We like men who like women, and we like women who like women.
That's
because
right.
Women need help, since for so long things were kind of slanted against us, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Now, recently, Cheri had one of those educational events that she does. And I, again, had the pleasure of being there. I even modeled in her show.
Yes, you did, Paula, and you were quite the model, I'm telling you.
Oh, thank you, darling. We had a great time. Cheri, for those that don't know about that event, tell them what we did.
Oh, it was so much fun. It was at the Botanic Gardens in Encinitas, and we had there was the obviously the financial piece, and we talked a lot about empowering women financially with information and education, financial planning for women, and so on and so forth. But one of the things we also talked about was the different trends in investment options that particularly I find that women, clients of mine, are even more and more interested in. And it's not too far, or it's just right in line with your last show.
Oh, yes, when we were talking with Kimberly Santera about renewable, sustainable energy companies and how this group RISE is trying to support the women in getting into careers.
That's right.
That's renewable, sustainable.
That's right. And those kind of companies, right, are becoming have become much more popular, and people are seeking those out. And they're known to be, or they're called ESGs.
And what does that stand for?
Vernacular for environmental social governance.
Oh.
Have you heard of that, Paula?
I haven't. What does that mean exactly?
So, well, actually, it's widely understood as an integration of environment, social, governance that are factored into investment processes and decision making. So it's one of the fastest growing, but also it's quite misunderstood. So I thought it would be important to talk about this today with the folks that are listening in. So the trend is that it's influencing global capital markets in a very big way because they use environment, like I said, social and governance principles investing. So but there is some misconceptions around it, or conceptions around it, which I was just alluding to, and that's because due to the misunderstanding, and as the CFO and the president of Calvert Funds would say, there is an ESG is all there's well in ESG there is no P because people say it's very political.
Oh, they say it's political. But,
some people do. I say,
but it's not actually.
It is not. He says he just wrote an article in Barron's last week that came out. It's a great article. Basically, he says there is no P in ESG investing.
I like it. There's no P in ESG investing.
Because even though we think about the environment, social issues, right, and governance, that doesn't mean that it has to be political, right? So, it may be included in corporations and how they respond to climate change. Okay,
that'll be important.
And very good, and how they handle water and water management, how effective they are with their health and their safety policies, how they treat their workers.
Oh, that's important.
Very, very, very much so.
And so if I'm clear about what you're saying, Cheri, is women want to invest in these companies because they're concerned about these kinds of things. Like
absolutely.
How people are treated.
Absolutely.
I love
and they become more and more popular. So these are big deals. This ESG investing can help investors. It can help asset managers. And it also helps individual companies align their interest to create a better portfolio and ultimately a better return.
So that's a
or
question.
a better world and a better return.
So I wanted to ask you about the return because I had heard in the past that some of the companies that were green or that were, doing their part for the world were not as good, the return wasn't as good as other companies. Is that true?
Well, that's a good question because when I became aware of ESG investing, there's also called SRO, which is social responsible investing.
I love that.
It's very, not exactly the same, but close. And there's just different criteria, But I had some clients in the early 2000s that were telling me, some women clients that said, I only want to invest in X, Y, and Z. I don't want to have anything that has, that sells tobacco or, does this or does that. So I actually found a company that, in doing the research, that I was able to take care of her needs. And this, like I was saying, this is back in early 2000s. So typically people were not as popular because the returns that they were getting were not that of other like companies or companies that might not fit those stringent or strict criteria for investing.
So the returns weren't as good.
As good. But that is not so today. That is not so at all. That is not so. And that's why if we're going to talk about, like, as I was saying, it's good for the investor, it's good for asset managers, and it's also good for the companies. And even institutions today are investing in ESG investments.
Is there somewhere our listeners could see like a list of ESG kind of companies, or is that something they should call you about? How do we know what is an ESG company?
That's a good question. There are criteria out there, and so if you start looking at the criteria, like if you want to get online and Google ESG and companies and look at that, or obviously getting a hold of your financial advisor, financial planner, or myself, because I do work with some companies that actually just sell only ESG or SRI investments. And there are advisors out there across the country that I know that I've spoken with and met at conferences. That's all they only take clients that will invest in that.
Really?
Yeah. So it's a lot. It is much bigger than most people think. And I was quite surprised at the last event when I asked the room, the ladies in the room, the folks in the room, if they, who had heard of ESG, or if they've had heard of it, to please raise their show of hands, and not anybody raised their hand.
Nobody raised their hand.
But I thought, well, there's probably some people. I was thinking,
I don't know.
I was thinking, there's got to be some people, maybe they just don't know quite as much about it. Because the perspective of investors, they consider these factors, these ESG factors, as it used to be it was nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
Now they look at it as it needs to have. They need to have, this kind of, they want to have the kind of a criteria on their investments that you would find with an ESG investment, for instance.
And I think that's so important because we all know there's global warming, there are all sorts of things going on the earth. I won't name them all, but ways in which the environment is being torn down. And we all need to be more responsible about this planet. So even if you're not somebody who affects the rainforest or, has anything to do with oil drilling, you can put your money in a company that's going to make a wise decision.
Right.
Through ESG investing.
Right.
That's so great.
Right. And I would differ with you just a little bit in that, I think that we all affect the climate, right?
I think you're right.
And there are a lot of people
even
that
as
feel
I
that
was
way.
saying.
I was looking at you, Paula, going, I know that,
we all have a point. We all have a purpose, and we all have an effect.
We all have an effect. But I just think that, more and more, like I said, more and more people that I see, and I have investors, and there are women that come to me and say, I don't want to invest in I don't want my investments, or let's say they get into a fund with different investments, or an EFT or something that have different, and I don't want that to invest in, let's say, fracking, or for oil, or I don't want to invest in this that's going to affect somebody in an adverse way, or the environment in an adverse way. And that's how you can be responsible. That's how you can those are the ways that you can make a difference, which I think is very important.
And you know what? Before we end this segment, Cheri, in case any of our listeners have to run, give them your contact information.
Oh, good. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you can reach me at my website. It's CheriBlairFinancialServices.com.
And Cheri is spelled CheriBlair, financialservices.com. And is there a phone number?
Sure. For those of you, I'll give you that are listening and are interested in calling me. You can call me direct at 619-997-0416.
One more time.
619-997-0416.
All right. And we will be back with more of Cheri after this message. Be right back.
We'll be right back with more Change It Up with Paula Shaw on AM 1170, The Answer.
Jack Gutman survived World War II and then returned home to the hardest fight of his life with PTSD and alcoholism. Now at age 93, he's a businessman and comedian, sharing his message of recovery and hope in his new book, One Veteran's Journey to Heal the Wounds of War, helping our heroes and anyone who has experienced PTSD find happiness again. Get Jack Gutman's new book, One Veteran's Journey to Heal the Wounds of War, at Amazon.com. Or to order a signed copy, call 714-525-4954.
For those looking to improve their lives, there's nobody better to turn to than Paula Shaw. Paula helps people regain successful lives by identifying and eliminating self-sabotaging behavior using a multitude of mind-body techniques to identify and resolve their core issues. Working with a wide variety of healing modalities, she provides her clients with the most effective process for their specific needs. To book a session with Paula, call 858-480-9234. That's 858-480-9234.
Welcome back to Change It Up. Now here's your host, Paula Shaw.
Welcome back to Change It Up Radio with Paula Shaw. I am here in studio with Cheri Blair, our sponsor and financial advisor, and we're talking about ESG investing. Now, in case you don't know what that is, it's environmental, socially responsible, is it? Am I right?
Environmental, social, and governance.
Yes. And governance. And these are companies that are actually working in a responsible way to take care of the planet. And investing in them is a way of doing your part on a whole other level. And that's what Cheri has been talking to us about. So, Cheri, we were talking before about there was a time really when when the term ESG investing didn't even exist, I'll bet.
No, you're absolutely right. Actually, like I said, ESG is very much like, it's also people get confused with SRI, which is social responsible investing.
Socially responsible. I like that one too.
That's good. And there are some clients that only want SRI. There's some clients that only want SEG, and there's reasons, which I won't get into the SRI now because we're talking specifically about SEG.
ESG.
Or ESG. Thank you.
ESG. I didn't want anybody to get confused.
That's right. That's right. Oh my goodness. So, but yeah. So I wanted to share a couple of reasons why this particular trend is growing so fast. Because, like you said, there was a time where people didn't even hear about it.
Right.
That
ESG. Makes
ESG.
total sense.
So even though, like I said, social responsible, or I was saying, it's been around since like 60s, 70s.
Oh.
But ESG, the term actually was coined in the early 2000s. And it came,
wow.
So,
I'm surprised it's even that old. It certainly isn't anything I've heard of before.
Well, it's time. It's time.
It is time.
That's
why we're talking about it today.
So there's PIMCO, Investments, which is up in Newport Beach, put together a number of reasons, actually 10, why it's become so popular. And I thought I'd share some of those today.
That's lovely. Okay. Why has ESG investing become more popular?
So one of them, believe it or not, is social media.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
And that is because the broader nature of social media has the potential to alter cultural blueprint.
Oh, that's true.
Okay? In different countries, right?
Yeah.
And for investors, and it affects various changes for individual and for the consumer, opposed to the traditional election for patterns on what the regular regulations for meeting criteria is. And so what that really means is because social media plays such a big part in all of our lives, and there's always been a criteria for, an investment to meet certain criteria. I mean, there's a criteria for investments to meet, right?
Yeah.
And now ESG is becoming part of, well, it hasn't been, but it's becoming more recognized, and it has to be.
It meets the criteria now.
Well, it's considered, people are looking at that like, well, does it meet the ESG criteria? Because there's like a large percentage of companies just in the S&P 500 that actually meet the criteria today, where there wasn't before. I believe it's 80%.
Wow.
Something like that. So it's
that's
very high.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's very high.
That's so.
Yes, it's very high.
Hopeful.
So as we, the other one is because we live longer. That's one of the reasons we're living longer, right?
So how does that matter? Because we care more about what happens to the earth?
Well, okay, I'll tell you. Because in 2050, there'll be 2.3 billion people in the world over age of 65. Okay.
Wow.
So according to the United Nations, with average life expectancy rising, even in developed countries, not just our country, which we know and I talk a lot about here in your show with you, is that that's going to affect issues. These issues are going to affect children and older people, right? So, and that even means less capable people.
So when we're talking about these issues, we're talking about like global warming or
climate
clean
change,
water,
income equality.
Okay, got it.
Okay, income equality, healthcare, poor governance. These are all increasingly, this is very personal stuff, right?
Sure.
So they affect financial security in retirement.
Of course.
Which is what I talk about.
So in 2050, that amount of people you talked about,
2.3 billion.
Is that a bigger number than the boomers that we have at that age now?
Yes.
Oh, that's huge.
Yes.
We got a lot of boomers out there.
Yeah,
now.
we do. But that's going to be, we're talking globally too. So
yeah.
So the other one I want to share, because time does run quickly here.
It does.
is the demographics are changing. So millennials and Gen X's are taking over baby boomers in positions of influence.
That's true.
And so that changes the business and financial and political landscape. So that's, that's important, right?
Interesting.
Another one is the public and private partnership.
And what does
So
that
that
mean?
means like the collaboration between the government and the public sector
Oh.
coming together, and that has grown, and they're addressing infrastructure and housing needs to a broader social and environmental issues.
Mm-hmm.
So the U.S., municipal market, and even European agencies markets are examples of how governments they are visioning. They're able to work on the private sector and the government coming together to develop things to help.
I see.
Yeah.
So what is an example of a company where private sector and government work together? Would that be like SDG&E?
Well, no. Well, no, because you have SDG&E is not.
They're just a private company.
Yeah, they're a private company, but they could get they have regulations from the government that changes it.
I see.
But
that's not exactly an example.
no, let me think here.
Okay.
Let me think here, and I'll come up with a.
All right.
But there are, we hear about this all the time, or I say all the time, more frequently now, particularly on the political landscape or the way things are. It's like if the government does not have the funds, like our infrastructure, right? So if the government doesn't have the funds to come out and fix the roads and fix,
Right.
we've got the airports and things like that, they might develop bonds, municipal bonds
right.
to do work in the airport. So, but they might want them to hire government employees, but they also are going out to the private sector and hiring private sector.
Oh, I see. Okay, that
would
feels
be-
much clearer.
Does that
Thank
help?
you.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and then another one is because of climate change. We know it's a reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's understood that, and there's techniques that include international arrangements from the Paris Agreement that came along, which aims to keep the world, the temperatures lower and to keep them from rising. But that's part of the reasons why this investment, the ESG, is growing as well, because people are investing in companies that's helping with this, helping this. So
I love that. I mean, it gives me hope, actually.
yes, it does.
Because really it says people care enough that
That's right.
they're not so worried about the dollar as much as they are about helping companies that are caring about the planet, which is beautiful. And they're still making money.
Right,
because you said it's a great investment now.
Well, think about it. Think how many more people are conscious and mindful and are, so determined not to leave the planet to their children and grandchildren in a way that it may not be for them like it has been for us.
Exactly.
And if that's important to you and you're investing and, depending on your values, you're going to look for something that's going to help
Absolutely.
your children and your grandchildren. And, it's a humanitarian thing to do.
But that's what I'm saying. It makes me so happy,
It
Cheri,
is.
that people are open to wanting to do right rather than just, every man for himself kind of a thing, and not caring where their money goes as long as they keep making money.
Well, a lot of people, and that have been investing for a lot of years, it's always about the return. But if you're helping make it a better place for everyone living on this planet, why wouldn't you want to put the money in or invest in those areas? Because it's a win-win situation.
Totally.
You're going to, you'll still get a good return on your investment. And in fact, it's going that way. And in some ways it has gone that way already. But as well as, the environment, and you're making a better planet for all of us.
Exactly.
Right? So it just...
I love this. I can't believe I didn't know about ESG investing before. But before we run out of time, I want you to give your contact information again, because if any of our listeners are getting as excited as I am right now about ESG investing and they want to find out more or even work with you, Cheri, what's the best way for them to do that?
Once again, Paula, you can reach me at CheriBlairFinancialServices.com. And as Paula always says, that's Cheri, Cheri, Blair, BLAIR.com. You can go to my website. There is a calendar there, and you can look in that calendar and see where, if you want to give me a call, have a complimentary chat or something, just schedule yourself in there. Or you can call. I gave my cell number. I'm also going to give my office number. That's 858-935-7808. That's 858-935-7808.
And once again, Cheri, it was my honor and pleasure to have you here sharing this great information with us. Remember, everybody, ESG Investing. And call Cheri, and she'll give you the scoop, and she'll get you hooked up. So thank you for being with us once again here on Change It Up Radio. Thank you, Cheri, for being with
Paula.
us. And remember, you can hear us on AM 1170, The Answer, and 96.1 FM on Sunday evenings at 9 o'clock. We're on every major podcast platform, including iHeartRadio and Blog Talk Radio. And please check us out on Facebook, on Change It Up Radio, our Facebook page, our Instagram page. Oh, we're everywhere. And if you can't remember all of that, oh, and by the way, there's Change It Up Radio website where you can learn more about the show and learn about being a sponsor or a guest on this show. And if you want to learn more about my work, go to paulashaw.com. Thanks for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you and being with you again next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Change It Up with life transitions expert, speaker, and best-selling author, Paula Shaw. Join the Change It Up movement with Paula Shaw as we explore topics that inspire, welcome change, and create a new kind of conversation. To learn more about Paula, how to be a guest on the show, and sponsorship opportunities, visit changeitupradio.com. Whether you're feeling happy, sad, mad, or glad, it never hurts to change it up.
So, Facebook live stream viewers, if you can hear me, thank you for being with us. Hope you enjoyed being backstage with Change It Up Radio. And Cheri, would you like to say goodbye to the folks?
Goodbye, folks.
Loved it. All right, see you next week.
That's funny.